Big talk about Facebook and their censorship. We come to find out there is a whitelist, a group of millions of elite members of Facebook who are not censored at all, unlike a lot of the other people. Ryan Hartwig is with me. He's a Facebook whistleblower, came out with Project Veritas before I did. And you just came out with your brand new book, Behind the Mask of Facebook, which actually talks about this whitelist. So tell me what you uncovered as a Facebook content moderator.
Yeah, so I uncovered a lot of things as a content moderator. So the list goes on and on. I have a list of about 43 examples, and it ranges from abortion to allowing a Trump meme, calling for his assassination to it just goes on and on. So among those things that I discovered is the XCheck. So the main consensus of my book, and it's Behind the Mask of Facebook. You can see it there behind me, and it's out. It's available on Amazon, wherever else you can find it. Endorsed by Dennis Prager. The main crux of my book is, look, these are documented issues. Up until now, it's been mainly anecdotal, and we know that Facebook does censor conservatives, but this is it. This is everything in writing, documented with photo and video evidence. And so, this week, on Monday, the Wall Street Journal published this article saying, "Hey, look, this whitelisting was happening where they had a special protection for VIP accounts called XCheck." And a friend of mine, Jason Fick, sent me the article. And he's like, "Ryan, look at this." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Like I that's in my book." So this content that they're saying was new, and they had a separate whistleblower. So that part was true. They have an anonymous whistleblower who's using the federal whistleblower protection program, which I didn't use. I guess they documented this in 2019. And that's when I was working at Facebook, was 2019. And this was during the civic audit. They mentioned an audit there. This was the civic audit by the Covington Law Firm with John Kyle, former Senator John Kyle. But yeah, so the XCheck was in my book, but I have actually new details. So anyways, the struggle. I've been reaching out to mainstream and trying to get them to publish something referencing my book, because hey, there's another whistleblower who published the book. But the main thing you need to know is there's not just two levels of protection, like Senator Marsha Blackburn mentioned on Tuesday in a short interview. There's 6 levels of this whitelisting protection that's called XCheck. So that's basically my discovery, and it's my book, Behind the Mask of Facebook. And yeah, it's really shocking to see. It's expected, but it's also shocking to see what Facebook's doing.
So these elite, I think Wall Street Journal said it was like 5 million people who are on this whitelist, that basically they can post whatever they want, even if it's harmful. What sort of things can these elite people post, celebrities, politicians, journalists, that the rest of the public can't?
Yeah, so the example they give is there's a famous soccer player from Brazil named Neymar Jr., and there was this controversy where a woman was accusing him of cheating on him, or I don't know. And so he ended up, anyway, there's this drama. So Neymar, the soccer player, he ended up posting essentially revenge porn, like posting naked photos of her on his Instagram, like totally unacceptable. And somehow his account did not get deleted for that, which, under the policy, it's called the sexual exploitation policy. Sexual exploitation of adults, so SEA. And there's another thing we call NCII, non-consensual intimate imagery. So that's the policy it falls under. And sharing revenge porn or even creep shots of people is deleted instantly under that policy. So he got away with that. Normally, if it was just you and I or the average user, we posted revenge porn, which, by the way, is against the law in a lot of states now, that would be instantly be deleted. So that's what the whitelist, what the XCheck tag protected him from. And what you didn't read in the article, what the Wall Street Journal did not have access to or failed to research, is there's actually 6 levels of protection. So there's the mid-pri XCheck tag, there's the high-pri XCheck, media ops high-pri protection, media ops absolute protection XCheck tag, media operations business partner XCheck, and then the last one, which is my favorite, is just called absolute protection. So those are the protections. That's the best example with Neymar Jr. I have some similar examples that are related to XCheck, like where Facebook gave exceptions to, allow content from Don Lemon or from Alyssa Milano that was violating. But I didn't see directly that correlation between XCheck and those exceptions they made. But it's a similar concept where they can just make an exception for their rules. And that's what the XCheck does.
It's interesting that there's 5 million celebrities, politicians, et cetera, in there. Yet people like Donald Trump and now Nicki Minaj get kicked out of that group real quick.
Yeah. It seems like they just, as soon as someone, strays away from their discourse, they get booted. And the governor of Alabama just this past week was temporarily suspended from her account. And so clearly there wasn't an XCheck tag on her account. And so it really is just this, just this double standard. And what you need to understand about the XCheck is like it protects the user, not the content. So it regardless of the content, it's gonna protect that user account. And I have some screenshots. I published an article on my blog about it, and I have some screenshots of the actual policy in use. But yeah, that's the double standard, because at the same time they're doing that, you have people like Gavin McInnes or Tommy Robinson who are on the hate figure list by Facebook. And so you can literally call for their death. You could post a picture of them, their throats being slit, and that's allowed because they're on this other list. So you've got your good list and your bad list. And they use it to their advantage to silence conservatives.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy. And most people see that that's happening. Does this apply to Facebook and Instagram?
Yeah, this is Facebook and Instagram, both. So they're
and
under
WhatsApp,
the same
I suppose, because it's all the Facebook family.
I believe they use some of the same policies. My job as a content moderator was deleting posts for Facebook and Instagram. So I didn't see WhatsApp, but I was reviewing groups, pages, direct messages, posts, comments.
Wow.
That was my job.
So you mentioned in your new book that people like Don Lemon, if someone criticized them, that content could be deleted.
Yeah. So with Don Lemon, what happened with Don Lemon, and here's a few specific examples, and these are outrageous. And these are ones I've mentioned. There's a few new ones that I've actually recently discovered because there was so much content. I literally filmed for 9 months with a hidden camera at Facebook. But Don Lemon. So he said on air, white males are terror threats. I mean, he said this on national television. And
militants.
Sorry, I'll slow down. White males. He said
white males.
Yeah.
Are terror threats.
White males are terror threats.
For being male and white.
Yeah. So white males are terror threats. That was the phrase. And so we moderate with the hate speech policy that Facebook gives us, and attacking anybody because of their PC, their protected characteristic. Whites are a protected characteristic and males are a protected characteristic. We should treat it like any other, group, which is correct. Normally that would be deleted. And Facebook even told us, we know that what Don Lemon said violated our hate speech policy, but we're making a newsworthy exception to allow what Don Lemon said. So it's that whole phrase, rules for thee, not for me.
Wow.
And obviously Facebook, and they never gave an exception like that for anybody on the right. And the same thing happened with Alyssa Milano. So go back a couple of years to Alabama, and there was a big push for Alabama to pass some abortion laws that would go against the pro-choice ideology. They wanted to limit late-term abortions. And so Alyssa Milano was campaigning, advocating against this legislation in Alabama. And the phrase that she said was, men shouldn't be allowed to make laws about women's bodies. Okay. And however you feel about that, maybe there's some validity to that argument, right? But that phrase in and of itself also violates the hate speech policy, kind of for the same reason as Don Lemon, because you're excluding an entire group of men. You're excluding all men from the political process of making laws.
Wow.
So men shouldn't be allowed to make laws about women's bodies. So once again, Facebook told us, this came from up above, from upper management. They said, hey, we know what Alyssa Milano said breaks our rules. It goes against the hate speech rules, but we're going to allow that phrase, or allow that, make an exception. So once again, this is a viral piece of content that they could have deleted, but because it was a left-leaning ideology and left-leaning influencer, they allowed it. So those are a couple of examples. And the one that like is going to shock you the most is with regards to child nudity. So Facebook made an exception for that. And don't remind me to get to the border, because we need to talk about the border and some of the things that Facebook did with regards to human smuggling. But yeah, so this is on page 132 of my book, Behind the Mask of Facebook. And Facebook made a newsworthy exception for child nudity. So there was an album cover in Brazil, like a children's music band. And it's kind of odd, but the children were nude on the cover, which we don't see a lot, but that's what happened. And so Facebook said, the album cover does violate our child nudity policy. However, given the artistic value of this album cover, as well as the public interest value, Facebook has decided to make a newsworthy exception. Wow. So, I mean, you're talking about child nudity. This isn't even like a historic, like I can understand maybe like for historic events where like there's a famous photo of a girl from Vietnam who's, in the background, the whole city is being bombed and she's running and she's naked. And I can understand maybe an exception for that, for historical, or like if you have photos of Nazi Germany and prisoners being, tortured and someone's naked. Okay, I can understand an exception for that. But this was just like a music cover. So that's really shocking. And then so these are just like, the list goes on. Like I said, I have about 43 examples of this, and it's described in my book just in excruciating detail exactly what Facebook said. Facebook has some policies about the border, and they have a human smuggling policy. So, they don't allow recruitment of potential victims. So you can't go on Facebook and say, hey, anybody want to cross the border? It's $500. Like coyotes who post that, they get taken down. But they do allow what type of human smuggling content is ignored. So they do allow provision of information on how to leave a country illegally, e.g. explaining how it's done. If you go down to the beach, you will be able to find a boat. That's allowed. Boats leave such and such beach on a daily basis with migrants. That's allowed. Explaining the gaps in border patrols. That is also allowed. For example, if I say the Irish Navy is set to remove patrols from July to October, and that allows people to pass by undetected, Facebook says that's okay. Or if I say shift changes at midnight or when the guards aren't there, that's allowed. So that's just another example of the double standard where, they say they're against human smuggling, but in reality, the actions speak louder than the words.
Wow, that is fascinating. And this whitelist and the protection of certain people like Don Lemon. I mean, look, I'm very pro free speech. So if Don Lemon says something insane, I think all the public should see exactly what he's about.
Yeah.
But that's so fascinating. And you've got a whole book of all those details. So definitely everybody go check out Behind the Mask of Facebook, Ryan Hartwig, on Amazon.
Yeah, this is the book. So it's on Amazon. It's on Barnes & Noble as well. You can buy it straight from the publisher. But yeah, it's on Amazon. It's also on indiebound.org or in bookshop.org if you prefer not to use Amazon. And it's endorsed by Dennis Prager, also endorsed by Patrick Byrne, and also by Zach Voorhees, the Google whistleblower. But yeah, it's a great read. It's a lengthy book. It's over 300 pages, so it'll be a good read. But yeah, check it out on Amazon or elsewhere wherever they sell books, or you can order it from me directly. I can send you a signed copy. Just shoot me an email at ryanhartwig@protonmail.com, and I can ship you a signed copy.
Awesome.
So,
Oh, by the way, I mean, it's great to see so many Facebook whistleblowers. This latest one that the Wall Street Journal is covering, and
yeah.
they're seeking federal whistleblower protection. You said you didn't seek that. People advised me to seek that, but when I looked into it, I'm not a federal employee. And
Yeah.
my understanding is that Facebook employees are not federal employees either.
Yeah.
Or are they now? After what the White House said about their
Right.
Facebook last month, are Facebook people now protected as
That's really
whistleblowers
funny.
because they actually work for the federal government now? I'm confused. Do you know?
So that's funny you say that, because that's part of Trump's lawsuit, is that, the government is instructing Facebook to do certain things. And so Facebook is acting as a quasi-government agency. They're acting not technically as a state actor, but with authorization from the state. And that brings into question a whole lot of things regarding the Fifth Amendment as well, because if they're a government agency and they're taking action against us, then the community standards, when you get in trouble on Facebook, that's essentially penal code. And so
Wow.
if there's no recourse, if you can't sue them for deleting you, then that violates the Fifth Amendment. So yeah, that's really funny. I'll have to read this article again and see.
Yeah, it said the Wall Street Journal said this person is in. They didn't name this secret whistleblower. They didn't name them, but they said this person is seeking federal whistleblower protection. When I read up on whistleblower protection, because I came out as a whistleblower against Fox, and people kept telling me to pursue that, it said it was for government employees. So I dismissed it. I wasn't a government employee.
Yeah,
so if this Facebook person gets whistleblower protection, there we go. Facebook does work for the government.
So it says, at least some of the documents have been turned over to the Securities and Exchange Commission and to Congress by a person seeking federal whistleblower protection, according to people familiar with the matter. Don't you love when they say, according to people familiar with the matter? It's like this catch-all phrase, like it makes them sound so amazing. Oh, wow. You found this whistleblower.
That's kind of a red flag in journalism.
I commend whistleblowers. Like, don't get me wrong. In my book, I talk about another whistleblower at Facebook, Sophie Zhang, who came forward. She's a data scientist. So kudos to them. But not kudos to Wall Street Journal for not like saying, oh, look, hey, there's one who's already public. That's great. We might as well make this a greater story with additional documented evidence, which is unbiased, which is factual. I mean,
you should definitely try to get their attention somehow. I don't know if they're ignoring you because you worked with Project Veritas or what. I know most of the mainstream media, well, they made fun of me and then they ignored me basically.
Yeah. No, yeah, and your story is great, and I think that's, I commend you for coming forward, and you've done a lot, and I think I'm sure you're very busy with interviews. I've done about 133 in the last year, and I'm sure you've done plenty since you came forward.
Coming. It's a lot of people trying to interview me. Meanwhile, I'm trying to interview other people to cover the news. It's a lot.
Yeah. And do you want to mention real quick too? Zach Voorhees is also come out with his book, Google Leaks.
Yes.
And he worked at Facebook, or not, worked at Google for 8.5 years as a software engineer.
He has quite a story. Yeah, I guess Google called the cops on him and everything.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, Google Leaks, Zach Voorhees, another Project Veritas whistleblower. All right. Well, I guess that does it. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Ivory. Have a great weekend.
All right, you too. Bye.